You're watching No Spin. I'm Nidhi Razdan. The Congress finally has a new president, the first non-Gandhi to head the party in 24 years. The 80-year-old Mallikarjun Kharge won by a landslide today against Shashi Tharoor, who didn't do too badly either by polling more than 1,000 votes, which was better than expected. The change at the top comes at a critical time for the Congress, which has been struggling to remain relevant since the Modi wave of 2014. But Mr. Kharge's election also shows that the party is not ready to make radical changes and is more comfortable with status quo. That's because Mr. Kharge is seen as a staunch Gandhi family loyalist. And throughout this election campaign, even today, Shashi Tharoor has said that this was not a level playing field. There are many challenges ahead for Mr. Kharge, including whether he will have the independence to make his own decisions, unifying a badly divided party, and finding ways of taking on the BJP's formidable election machinery. Well, joining us straight on the program tonight, Salman Soz, the campaign in charge for Dr. Shashi Tharoor, is with us. Praveen Chakravarti, chairperson for data analytics with the Congress party. Our commentators today, Tavleen Singh and Sadanand Dhume, are also joining us. Great to have you all on the program. Praveen Chakravarti, let me take this question to you first about the sort of accusations that have continued even after Mr. Kharge's win from Mr. Tharoor also, that this was not a fair playing field, that this was not a fair election. That's basically what he has said. How would you look at those comments?
See, first of all, I think since you have Salman on the show, I hear you say Salman's on the show, I'm sure Salman would acknowledge that we have had constant conversations with Tharoor's campaign. And I'm saying this as part of someone who's been involved in the election authority, not outside. And the accusation first of a non-level playing field has to be looked at in two separate frameworks. One is about election and the other is about electioneering or campaigning. As far as the election goes, what is a free and fair election? Does every voter did he or she have a chance to vote, cast their vote? Yes, no. Was their vote a secret? Yes, no. Did they have the right to choose and vote for any candidate that they wanted to? Yes or no? Those are the fundamental tenets of a free and fair election, and I'm sure even Dr. Shashi Tharoor and Salman will acknowledge that those three were absolutely held. Now, there could be, I think their complaints are mainly about electioneering in terms of what the organization and their election tactics and their strategies. But, you know, we have to separate the two, and you have to also understand, not for a moment am I claiming that the election is flawless, but it is extremely and completely unfair to say that the election was completely one-sided or lopsided and almost everyone conspired to, for the election to be thrown to one side. And that is a completely baseless and unfair accusation.
Before I take that to Salman Soz, can I though ask you a couple of things? One is that Salman Soz himself has written a letter that actually came out today. It was written yesterday about fairly serious irregularities that the Tharoor camp claims happened in UP in particular, including unofficial seals for ballot boxes, amongst other things, the presence of unofficial persons in polling booths. So, you know, they're fairly detailed accusations, which I'll get Salman to talk about. But apart from that, the fact that, you know, Mr. Kharge was seen very clearly to have the blessings of the Gandhi family, the fact that he was seen by Sonia Gandhi's side at a public event, after his candidature was announced, wasn't that a clear signal to the rest of the party that he had Mrs. Gandhi's blessings? Was that fair?
No, I think we're clutching at straws here. You know, there's something called the Occam's razor in philosophy, which is do not attribute malice to what can be explained by perhaps, say, imperfections or inefficiencies. So all the allegations in the letter, we've had detailed conversations with the Tharoor team, and they would acknowledge that there was no some intentional conspiracy behind any of that. As regards to official, unofficial, I think this debate's gone on for far too long. Let me just play some facts. I think officially the Central Election Authority and the chairman made it very, very clear that there is no official candidate of the party. Second, there is no candidate endorsed by the leadership. Third, Mr. Rahul Gandhi in a press conference very openly said, I do not endorse either of the two candidates. Number 4, there was a message sent to every single delegate, an SMS message from the chairman of the Central Election Authority saying, there is no official candidate, the leadership does not endorse any candidate, your vote is a secret, and you are free to vote for whoever you want. Now, that is all that we can do. Now, you can argue about perceptions being raised. But that's what I said. That falls in the domain of electioneering. And let us not conflate the two. After all, this is a contest for power. There will absolutely be, sloganeering. There will absolutely be various sorts of election techniques.
So you're saying, you're saying that the favoritism claims are sort of exaggerated or unfair or unfounded. So let me take that to Salman Soos, who is handling Shashi Tharoor's campaign. Salman, yes, of course, Shashi Tharoor has, complimented Mallikarjun Kharge. He's congratulated him. But he did say even today that it was an uneven playing field. It was an uneven pitch, as he called it. And, thanked those who voted for him despite being under tremendous pressure not to. So was this a fair election, bottom line?
Well, first of all, Nidhi, thank you for having me here. I will say one thing very clearly. Dr. Tharoor never said that this election has not been fair. I think what he has said is that, yes, it has been uneven in terms of whether the playing field is level or not. But he also said that no matter what the playing field is, you have to bat. And that is what he went out to do. He has congratulated Mallikarjun Kharge ji for becoming our next president. And that goes for our entire team. He's everybody's president now for the entire Congress party. No election, frankly, can be perfect. That goes for any election organized by the Election Commission of India. But I think after almost 2 decades we've had this election, of course, when you have an election after such a long time, there will be some areas where we need improvement. I think I must commend the Chief Election Authority under Mr. Mistry and his staff. I think they've done a great job in terms of working very hard to make sure the election is as free and fair as possible. Now we are going to move on. I think the votes that Dr. Tharoor received, as you said, I think many people were surprised. I had been saying this for some time, that people are going to be surprised. And please make no mistake, the 1,072 delegates who voted for us voted for change. But within the party, beyond these 1,072 people, I think a vast majority of our workers and delegates want change. They want improvements. They want a stronger party. And I think the fact that Dr. Tharoor received so many votes is also a message to the party, and I'm sure this message will be heeded. Okay,
so now let me get our commentators in to really understand what they see as the message from Mr. Kharge's election. Tavleen Singh, to you first, is this, a sign that it is status quo in the Congress? It's not a party that's voting for radical change or reform.
I think that goes without saying, but since you've asked the question, I think it's pretty obvious that what they're voting for is for things to change as little as possible, which is very disappointing because actually what Shashi was saying, and I'm very happy that he's got at least 1,000 votes, is that change is what we need at the moment. And for those of us who really believe that the Congress party is the only party that is capable of being a national opposition party, we actually wanted to somehow accept that change is what it needs at the moment, not the status quo, because the status quo has lost them 2 general elections. And, as the BJP keeps saying, out of 50 elections in the past 4 years or whatever it is, they've lost all of them nearly. Yeah, they're down to 2 states. So change is what they need. And I'm not sure that Mr. Kharge is that candidate who wants change.
Sadanand Dhume, the question though also is that, okay, it's not been a perfect process, far from it, but the Congress at least has had, some kind of election, fought in very publicly, and, you have the results there, whether you agree or disagree with them. The fact is, most other Indian political parties don't have that. They all have a system of that dreaded word consensus, where basically somebody is chosen to become party chief, including the BJP for decades now. Therefore, is that criticism of dynasty, lack of inner party democracy, do you think that that's criticism that will no longer hold to be true, for the Congress, at least from the BJP side?
No, I'm not sure I agree with that, Nidhi. I mean, I think the Congress should be congratulated on the process. I would take the point, raised by both Praveen and Salman that, that it seems like it was a, well-organized and reasonably professionally run process. So great kudos to them for that. But the central issue in Congress is, where does power actually lie? And I've been making the argument that it really it doesn't really matter. Let's just say hypothetically Shashi Tharoor had won the election. I'm sure it would have been a larger step toward change than this. This is obviously, Kharge winning is obviously more towards the status quo. But it wouldn't change the fundamental fact that as Shashi Tharoor himself said, that the Congress believes that the Nehru-Gandhi family is part of their DNA. I don't say this as criticism. I'm just saying this is the reality of that party. It is very different from other political parties around the world. The Republicans may respect Ronald Reagan, but they don't say that Ronald Reagan is the DNA of our party. The Christian Democrats in Germany may respect Helmut Kohl, but they don't say that, well, Helmut Kohl is the DNA of our party. This is not a modern political party, at least the way we recognize parties, how parties function in the West. It is an extension of the Nehru-Gandhi family. It has been an extension of the Nehru-Gandhi family now for more than 50 years, since Indira Gandhi split the party in 1969. That is simply the reality of this party. So my view has always been that, people who were fantasizing about, this party being changed dramatically by Tharoor were fundamentally misreading the nature of the Congress party. The Congress party, as long as a member of the Nehru-Gandhi family is in active politics, power will naturally flow to that member. That's just the reality. That's how they think. That's how their workers think. That's how their office bearers think.
Just to be the devil's advocate here, isn't that true of all political parties in India today? I mean, when you talk of sycophancy, look at the BJP today. It revolves completely around the personality of Mr. Modi. If you look at regional parties, it's either family run. It's very personality cult driven around their leaders. And so, how are they different from the Congress? Not really, are they?
Yes and no. Yeah, yes, to the extent that, of course, all of these parties are mini personality cults, right? Mamata Banerjee's party is a personality cult. So is Jagan's party, and so on. But there's one important difference, which is that the Congress party has relied on one family for more than 50 years now. And the problem that they face is not dynasty. You're right. That sort of is very common in Indian politics. The problem that they face is that the current generation of leadership in the Congress lacks both charisma and competence. If they had a charismatic and competent leader, or they had either a charismatic or a competent leader, they wouldn't be in this sorry state. They lack charisma, they lack competence at the top, and that's why the party is sinking.
Okay, well, we have author Kapil Komireddy joining us as well, and he's written a very scathing piece attacking the whole process in which this has happened, and how he feels that Shashi Tharoor was very unfairly treated. But again, to be the devil's advocate, Kapil Komireddy, Mr. Kharge is not a lightweight. I mean, he's somebody who has won every election that he has contested, barring one in the last 50 years. So he's very much a grassroots leader. He has been a veteran leader now, as I said, for 5 decades. Why are you so quick to write him off? Would you not want to wait to give him a chance to see whether he asserts himself or not?
I don't disagree with your assessment of Mallikarjun Kharge's vast experience or his status as a veteran of the party. The argument I make is that why was he not the candidate? Why did he appear on the 29th, the day before the nominations closed? He was exhumed to be the official candidate, and we know that because he appeared on the 2nd of October with Sonia Gandhi at Rajghat. She never publicly took a stance. She never publicly said, I recently worked with the mayor of Kiev, whose city was bombed, and he found the time to work on an article with me to tell the world what was happening. But Sonia Gandhi couldn't find 5 minutes to go before a camera and say that I'm neutral in this race. She's too above all of this. She should have done that. And the perception that filtered through to the party rank and file was that he was the party official candidate. And he said so. He said, I filed a nomination on behalf of the Congress party. And wherever Shashi went, he was spurned by the party leaders. The leader of Telangana Congress party actually called Shashi a donkey. I wonder why there was no disciplinary action against him. And Shashi was called a guest actor. He wasn't received. The data he was given was completely empty. There were not enough phone numbers. There weren't addresses. He kept complaining about that. And I have to congratulate Salman for running this extraordinary campaign against the odds. What they demonstrated was, I think, a high act of patriotism. They entered the race knowing that they were going to lose, and yet they reposed faith in the system. If Shashi had won, contrary to what Sadanand has said, I think it would have begun the process of clawing the Congress back from the hold of the dynasty. But he was bound to lose, and that's what's happened. I think this election, we will see its consequences in 2024. When Modi wins a third term, I hope he doesn't. I'll vote for the Congress or any party that is against Modi. But if and when he wins that race, we will have to come back and examine this election. This is what will have fetched him a third term in office.
Praveen Chakravarti, now you've heard the commentators. I think the consensus is that Mr. Kharge is seen as the family man. And therefore, is that his first challenge? How is he going to shake off this perception that he's going to be taking instructions from 10 Janpath? Praveen?
Yeah, first, I'm not so sure commentators reacting to comment. Hello? Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not sure reacting to commentators is what Mr. Kharge is going to be focused on at this point in time. But before I start, I wanted to say this at the beginning, but I do thank Dr. Shashi Tharoor. I mean, he's a good friend of mine, for forcing a contest. The very fact that we're having a discussion today is actually thanks to Shashi's candidature. As regards to some of the other comments made by some commentators from somewhere, I think Salman's answered that in terms of whether the election was fair or not. I think it's completely false to say some details were given only inaccurately only to Shashi. There was as I said repeatedly, there was no conspiracy hatched to defeat Shashi. There may have been other organizational factors in electioneering. As regards to change versus status quo, you know, I've written a piece about this. There were 56 articles between 2019 and 2022 that, from commentators again, that said Rahul Gandhi was going to be the next president of the Congress party anytime soon. That did not happen. Then they said the Congress party will never hold an election. That did not happen. Then they said absolutely there will be an official candidate that will be endorsed. Now, some may choose not to believe, but the fact is it was stated publicly, and every delegate who voted was informed that there was no official candidate or no candidate endorsed. That's all that matters. It doesn't matter whether some commentators know about it or not. Okay, that's number 3. So all of these did prove some of the commentators wrong in the last 3-4 months at least, right? Today we are here where we have had an election, we have had a winner. Similarly, I think we should not prejudge Mr. Kharge. You absolutely.
What is the role the Gandhis will play in the running of the party? Let me rephrase the question. What is the role that Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi will play in the running of the party?
I don't need to answer that question because Mr. Rahul Gandhi himself answered it in a press conference earlier today, right? So now this is just a question of going to be my word versus your word. We will only have to wait and see. Like I said, so far in the last 3 months, most of you have been proven wrong. I remember an NDTV journalist coming to interview me 2 months ago and said there was no way an election will happen in the Congress party. Okay, so let us give this a chance. I know that everyone is justified, at least partly, in being angry with the Congress party for the state at which it is in the last 3 years. I'm the first person to admit that. But let us also not jump the gun. Let us not prejudge. I also know Mr. Kharge, and let us not just go by optics. Let us wait and give him a chance and see what he does.
But what is the message that the Congress sends out when, I mean, again, with due respect to Mr. Kharge, it elects Mr. Kharge at the age of 80, and he is a family loyalist. He's been known for being a staunch family loyalist. So let's not pretend here that, you know, this was a neutral contest. Praveen Chakravarti. So where is the vote for change? Where is the vote for something radical? Something radically different from what the Congress was doing till now?
See, the Congress has done today something different from what had happened previously. Correct. We all acknowledge that. That is why we're even having this discussion. I'm not even getting into whether other parties do that or not, but honestly, because that's not even a relevant discussion for me or a relevant benchmark for me. And I'm also saying that you may choose not to believe that this was not a neutral process, but it is easy to comment. But it is very extraordinarily hard to actually to execute a process, an all India election like this. And I think Salman himself said it on this very program that the process has been fair. Now, all I'm saying is that it is wrong to prejudge Mr. Kharge with your prejudices, either because of his age or because of perceived loyalties or whatever you may think, which you may not agree with. But I think we must wait to see, because I do know Mr. Kharge.
One of the dreaded commentators wants to say something.
Who will take it.
Yes, Sadanand Dhume.
I think
your mic
issue is sort of.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think the nub of the issue. This has sort of I think we shouldn't spend too much time on the process, right? The nub of the issue is, what does this mean for the future of Congress? And here I think there's a sort of disagreement where between Kapil and me that really goes to the heart of the matter. In my view of the Congress Party, the control of the Nehru-Gandhi dynasty, or their central position of the Nehru-Gandhi dynasty, is simply what they are, right? I mean, Shashi Tharoor in one of his statements also said that they are the DNA of our party. That is what this beast is, and what you find among many people, among anchors, among many sort of people in the educated middle class, is a kind of yearning. We wish there was something else. I mean, I understand and I sympathize with that, right? I also wish there was something else. But that is not what they are. They have been a family concern for 50 years. So then the question is, how do you revitalize it? And it's a two-part puzzle. The problem with them is that internally, only a family member can revitalize. But externally, the family leadership that's been on display just isn't working. So you have to be able to solve both parts of the puzzle. Many people who focus on the fact that the family isn't working, they presume that someone else, like Shashi Tharoor or someone else, would be able to revive the party. But unfortunately, in my view, that misreads the fundamental nature of what the Congress Party is and has been for more than 50 years.
Which is the family being central to it.
It is the brand of the Congress Party is the Nehru-Gandhi family. That is the brand. I mean, I said in a somewhat sort of lighter note, I'd liken them to the Kardashians on a podcast.
I was going to ask you that.
But that's just sort of. I mean, that's a more flippant way of putting it. But the fact is that this is
let me get
brand.
quick last comments from the others on this. Salman, is this a vote for change or a vote for status quo? Honest to God, hand on your heart. What's your answer?
Well, this is a huge vote for change. I think people are just very gloomy, and in that sense, I think there is a fundamental misunderstanding of what the Congress Party is, what Indian politics is. If people cannot see that this is a huge message in favor of change, then I don't know what to say. Dr. Tharoor was contesting against a party veteran who knows many of the Congress leaders, from AICC, the All India Congress Committee, to the Pradesh Congress Committees, to the District Congress Committees, to the Block Congress Committees. And in that sense, Dr. Tharoor was going up against the party, a lot of these leaders at these different levels. And yet, despite everything, 12% of the vote came to Dr. Tharoor, and we know, and the party knows. Don't think the party doesn't know. Our party leadership knows what those other 88% are thinking. An overwhelming majority of Congress workers and
delegates
tell us
what they're thinking.
Want change. They want change. Nidhi, they want change. Shashi's 12% is just the tip of the iceberg. We have spoken to a lot of people. They regret that they could not support us, but they know what we are fighting for. And
why could they not support you?
They're with us.
Why could they not support you? Do you want to spell it out?
There are many reasons for that. There are many reasons for that in politics. There are lots of different things. You have relationships. There are networks. That's how this party and I'm sure other parties work. But this is, make no mistake. And I want to tell Tavleen and Kapil and Sadanand that this is indeed a vote for change. This is not a vote for status quo. No, it may seem like that from the outside, but from the inside of the party, the message is loud and clear.
Well, I'm completely out of
happy to
time
say.
today, but I have a feeling we're going to be talking about this again, maybe in the near future, because there are state elections coming up where the Congress at the moment doesn't seem to be having a campaign on the ground. Apparently, it's an invisible, silent campaign. Even the Prime Minister is saying that in Gujarat. But thank you very much to all of you for joining us. Thank you.